Hello fight fans, welcome back to WhatCulture Combat. I am, as always, Gareth here to tell you all about the latest news that's hitting all of the MMA world right now. But first and foremost, we need to establish and really reference what's going on here with my head. I'm now bald. That's because I lost the quiz.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Oh, he's got,
oh no.
He's got a lot of it, brothers. And there it is.
Oh, Jimmy.
So yeah, there you go. That's why I'm bald. So deal with it. But in terms of MMA news, what have we got to dive into today? Well, the MMA story that is on everybody's lips right now, that hurt more than what I thought it would, was all about Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Their fight, which looks like it's not going to happen now, at UFC 249. It's been cancelled for the 5th time. Beautiful. Yeah, Tony had an interview with Ariel Helwani on ESPN, and he went into a bit of detail about how he felt about the entire thing, really. We've not really had Tony's point of view since things have changed awfully in the last couple of days. So yeah, he didn't have very, very positive things to say about Khabib. He claimed that he bailed out of that fight, their fight at UFC 249, and he said that he should be stripped of the title. He went into a bit more detail. He said, obviously I was very upset. I feel more for everybody else that's actually going through some hard times. It was a little bit different, of course. I'm a little bit pissed. He had the opportunity to stay here. He was in Abu Dhabi. He had his chance to be able to come back before the borders were closed in Russia. Then he decided to go to Dagestan. He did not finish his camp. The guy does not want to fight. He's scared. He's running. He should be stripped of his title. So those are pretty strong words. It's a weird one because he has some points in the sense of he's saying, oh, he could have stayed over here and tried to soldier on and train and everything else, and this fight would probably be a bit closer to happening. But you need to understand that Khabib was obviously originally training in San Jose, the American Kickboxing Academy, but then the governor of California issued an executive order that shut down all the gyms in that state, and that was to help slow down everything that's happening in this current global situation. And despite these restrictions, Khabib did actually manage to continue training for a little bit with minimal coaches and teammates and attendance, but it's quite tough. Obviously, if you try and train for a camp like this, to get a real camp together and get the high level of training that you need to be taking on somebody like Tony when you are restricted in that kind of way. So he did obviously fly back because he thought he'd have a better chance there, and I think he flew back to Abu Dhabi, to the Emirates, because they were under the impression that the fight was 99% going to happen there, but obviously now it's not because things have changed again, because it's just an ever-changing situation. But then obviously Khabib made the call to forego the fight in order to respect the quarantine that's happening right now. And despite all this, Ferguson is not buying it. Nope, not having it. Which you expect that from Tony Ferguson, really, don't you? He said, "I'm more down to fight than anybody, anytime, anywhere, unless the circumstances are completely different." He said that about Khabib's decision. He said, "The fight against Khabib, this is the guy. Everybody just wants this fight. I get what he wanted to do. Obviously, he's here. His family is back in Dagestan. It is what you've got to do, but he had the opportunity, and he did the exact same thing at UFC 209. So he's trying to spin this into like it's an ongoing narrative that this has happened a couple of times now. Khabib just keeps wanting to duck and dodge the fight. But they both pulled out at different times over the years, so they both not covered themselves in glory with that over the year. But at the end of the day, it's just a bit sad that this is happening because we all wanted this fight. Obviously, I've said it a couple of times in these videos that the most important thing is that everyone's safe, everyone's healthy. Khabib needs to be back in Dagestan for his family, and he went back there with that in mind and to try and get the best camp he could. It makes sense. So you can't really throw stones at him for that. But speaking of this, it's surreal that we're in a world now where Khabib has to release statements to clarify why he's done what he's done. It's quite understandable what he's done. He went back to Dagestan to be with his family and everything else like everybody else is doing, so it makes sense. But on his Instagram, he released a statement. He said he isn't taking the blame for the UFC 249 main event being in jeopardy. I'll tell you exactly what he said. He said, "Staying home in quarantine and reading the reaction of people to the situation around my fight, it turns out that the whole world should be in quarantine. Governments of all countries, famous people around the world urge people to follow all safety requirements in order to limit the spread, to save people, and Khabib is the only one relieved of all obligations and must demonstrate free will and train, fly around the world for the sake of a fight. And then he went on, he said, I understand everything, and I'm definitely upset more than you to cancel the fight. Probably like all others. I had many plans after the fight, but I can't control it at all. You're seeing these titanic, huge companies all pulling the plug, sports venues, all events all around the world, leagues, everything has been suspended, apart from UFC and WWE. So Khabib's sitting back and going, guys, like, look what everyone else is doing. Why do I still have to put myself out there and put myself at risk and not be with my family at times like this when everyone else is getting to do that? That doesn't make sense, and it doesn't, to be fair. He's got a solid point there. So you can't really argue with that. So I don't know. I mean, you see Tony's point. He's just annoyed. He's trying to spin it into something else. Probably keep a bit of fuel ticking over, so when they do actually fight, there's a bit more of a narrative there again. And again, absence makes the heart grow fonder, so hopefully by the time we get this fight, there'll be that much bad blood and venom spitting at each other. It's just going to be a massacre, which would be great. But right now, it's not looking like it's going to happen, which is probably for the best, in my personal opinion. Throw stones at me if you like. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of this entire situation. It seems to be changing daily, but we're getting more information filtered through daily as well, which is quite good. Just off a different topic, we've got Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer, obviously scheduled for a fight at the UFC event, the big UFC event after 249. They're going for 250. It's their title fight. But yeah, they're scheduled to have that fight in Sao Paulo in Brazil, which obviously with the current travel restrictions, everything else, it's not looking likely that is going to happen. So they've suggested something over Twitter. They've said that, I think, yeah, it was Spencer. Spencer first pitched the idea to keep the title fight intact, but move the card to Florida instead. She said, Amanda Nunes, we both live in Florida. Let's get UFC 250 in our backyard. Please don't leave. That's what she ended it with. She was like, no, don't go, because this might not work if you leave suddenly. Nunes obviously trains at American Top Team in Coconut Creek in Florida, and she was quick to respond. She said, I'm just seeing this on Twitter, and she said, I'm not going anywhere, girl. See, a lot of G's there. I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. So there you go. So again, any other situation, this would be a bit like, come on guys, you don't really have this kind of power, surely. But right now, any options are good options, so it's looking like that could be a potential thing. Florida is one of the only locations on the planet, really, right now, that hasn't issued a massive statewide lockdown once this situation has obviously started to spread. They've said that it's one of the only states that hasn't shut down all non-essential activities, which is what allowed regional mixed martial arts promotion Combat Night to hold an event in Jacksonville on March 21st behind closed doors. So it's a feasible thing. It could happen in Florida. That'd be awesome, seeing that fight again. It's the same thing I keep saying every single time we cover one of these types of stories. As long as everyone's healthy, everyone's fit, everyone's safe, that's fine. But if there's a risk of any kind, you can't put these events on because it's not fair. We can wait. Obviously it's going to be rough, but we can wait. We're fans. We want to see fights, obviously, but equally we don't want to see people put in peril and danger. So that's my 50 pence on that subject. So obviously many fighters have been affected by this all over the UFC, all over the world. But you never know. We might see another card very soon behind closed doors, or we might not. We just got to deal with it. But right, I'm going to end this with something a little bit of a lighter subject, because it all just seems a bit doom and gloom right now in the world of MMA, UFC, all of it really. It's a weird time. It's unpredictable time. So in times like this, obviously it was April Fool's Day yesterday, and somebody else actually went bald like me, or maybe went bald, we're not too sure. It was Chase Hooper. He supposedly cut off his trademark afro. He posted it on Instagram, and if it turns out to be real, then that's not good. It looks a bit odd. I mean, I'm a hypocrite because I just did it myself, but it looked very strange seeing him. I didn't have as much hair as Chase. It was very, yeah, shocking to see that, really. There was a couple of people who did it on Instagram. They all posted what April Fool's Day things they got up to. And it was, to be honest, in times like this, it was quite fun just seeing people have a laugh and just try and make light of this situation and poke a bit of fun at each other. Obviously, it's not fun to joke about the situation, make jokes on that, but finding light in other things right now is really important, because, yeah, we can't just let everything bog us down and stay in a rut. We've got to still keep finding joy in things. And if that just means watching old UFC fights and old MMA fights from Bellator and One Championship, then do that. If that makes you happy, keep on doing it. I will be doing that as well. And I just downloaded UFC 3 again, so I'm going to be playing that tonight. So that's my night sorted. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in today and clicking on WhatCulture Combat. Check out all the lists that we've got on right now, all the reviews, everything else. We've got loads of content. Constantly pumping out the content. We've got a nice, I think we've got a conversation coming out very soon between myself and Adrian, all about the most dominant UFC champions in history, who we think falls into that category. So I'd love to see what you guys think about that. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, click on that subscribe button, ring the bell for this bald guy while you're there. I probably shouldn't slap my head because that really hurt. But yeah, thank you very much for watching again, and I hope you are safe, and I hope to see you very, very soon.